Hello, everybody. Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. Gosh, do I have a fun interview for you guys? I got to finally speak after this man has been on my radar for years to the great Steve Conte. You may remember him from his stint later after the New York Dolls were a big deal. He came in and took the guitar reins in that band for quite a while and put his mark on it. He also worked with Michael Monroe and many others. He's known for his soundtrack work, his commercial work, studio session work, but man, what a great live entertainer Steve is. So we get to talk about his new album or actually a new single on a yet unnamed album that will be coming out next year. And we will be talking to him next year, hopefully. So anyway, this is just a fun, informal chat. You'll get to hear him talk about his guitar, some stories from when he was with New York Dolls, as well as the intriguing story behind his new single, Girl with No Name. So without any further ado, here's my first of what I hope are many more interviews with the great Steve Conte. Until next time, this is Randy Patterson with Boomerocity. Take care.
Hey, what's happening? Are you recording already?
I'm recording, but it gets edited, so don't worry.
Okay.
So
all right, let me just check my room, check my hair.
Yeah, I got to too. So you got cooler hair than I do. So all right. So I see a lot of guitars there. Tell me how, if you don't mind me asking, how many guitars do you have, and do you own what you consider to be the Holy Grail?
Let's see. Well, I probably got about, I don't know, 30 something guitars, which is a lot when you live in New York City.
Yeah.
And you have, the space is a premium here.
Yeah, there's a lot of real estate to take up for
exactly.
high rent.
So I really only have guitars that I love. I don't just collect things that I'll never play. In fact, in my life, I think I've only gotten rid of probably 5 guitars that I ever had. And I regret getting rid of 2 of them, 2 gold top Les Pauls. But
I was going to say they had to be Les Pauls.
Yeah, yeah, they had the mini humbuckers, which I don't really love, but still, I had a 1973 gold Les Paul gold top with mini humbuckers, which was my first guitar. I bought it for $310 at Red Magnet.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I got rid of that one, and then I bought another one later, and I sold that too. But I've had Strats and Tellys that I've gotten rid of that were not big deals to me. Everything I have now is like, yeah, Holy Grail, 62 Strat. That's one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Not completely original. It's original neck, body pickups, and finish and pick guard, but like the tuners have been replaced, and the nut and the tremolo.
Yeah.
But I'm a player. I'm not putting it in a museum or trying to sell it to some collector somewhere.
There you go.
I'm playing it.
They're getting too many of them these days. The pure collector and non-musician collectors at that.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people from other countries that I don't want to name any particular one, but they have a lot of money and they come over here, or they order them from eBay or whatever, and hang them on a wall somewhere.
Yeah.
That's not what I do with mine. I also have a 59 Junior that's pristine, double cut Junior, and that's all original, so that's probably worth quite a bit. I have a 60 Junior that I've refinished. That's like one of my main guitars. Early 70s Les Paul is probably up to, I have a 59 Dan Electro, the Jimmy Page one.
Oh, the black and white?
Yeah, black and white one.
Yeah.
59. 59 Airline. I have a lot of old vintage stuff. 66 Fender 6-string bass.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of old Gibsons. I only have 2 Fenders, really, the Stratton and the 68 Telly. But a lot of I got 3 Melody Makers, I got Gibsons, I got 2 Juniors, I got a 335, I got two Les Pauls, an SG, a Firebird,
Oh,
uh, J160E acoustic, which you might know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I see it.
One of the Melody Makers is back there. Hummingbird acoustic. I got Martin acoustic. And I got some newer guitars that were given to me by Hagstrom, great company.
Mhm.
That's a one right there. This beautiful jazz guitar
Yeah.
and the Swede bass, which is really cool.
Right.
Zamitis got me a guitar a few years ago, which is really great too. And other than that, I don't know if I've named every guitar, but you get the
You don't want to hurt any of their feelings, do you? So
idea.
they do have personalities. I'm told. I'm not a musician. But I do have a killer vintage air guitar collection. So go figure. So and I don't know enough about them to say what they are. So
You don't know how to tune them?
I know how to
You know how to
tune them.
tune the air?
Yeah. Well, I know how to tune a real guitar too. I have the guitar my parents gave me when I was in 6th or 7th grade, and I've kept it. It's a Hohner Contessa acoustic. And I haven't played any better since then. I don't know any more since then. So I just leave it to you
Hey
guys.
man, that's punk rock, you
There
know?
you
I'm telling you, you know?
I
The
missed my
guy
calling.
I think punk rockers are actually afraid to learn anything because they might change their style and they like what they like and they never change it, which is a beautiful thing. I was never that way. I was always, since I was 13 years old, I just always wanted knowledge. I just wanted more. I wanted more and more and more. So, you know, I mean, somebody like Sylvain, I love him, you know, rest his soul. I love him dearly. He played exactly the same at the end of his life as he did when he made the first New York Dolls record, you know.
Wow. Wow.
Which, you know, that's amazing to go through life not thinking, God, I got to improve. I got to, you know, change. I got to grow. He just, you know, he grew and changed in his writing. You know,
Mhm.
he wrote new things, but I mean, he kind of never. And a lot of like punk and garage guys, you know, they do that. They love their one genre, and that's really cool. I mean,
Nothing wrong with
me,
it.
I always felt the need to uh, you know, to work as a musician. I know it's hard to work if you're just a three-chord garage band guy, you know, like,
No.
you
Not
know,
much session work in
you
that
need to
either.
get in another three-chord garage band.
Yeah.
Really. Like, I mean, without the work that I did, like studying and stuff, I would have never been able to have some of the gigs that I've had over the years, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to get back to some of that in a moment, but first of all, I want to thank you for all the years of great music and taking the time to talk with me this morning.
My
You're in New
pleasure.
York City, I'm in the Smoky Mountains, so we're just down the road from each other. So,
Oh, right on. Where, Virginia?
no, in Sevierville, Tennessee. I'm a couple
Oh,
miles from Dollywood. So,
oh, okay. Yeah, I've driven down that way. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
I
I'm
love that.
outside of Knoxville.
I love that part of the country.
Me too. I was born here, grew up in Arizona, and came back here about 10 years ago. So, but I love it here. But again, thank you for all the years of great music and for taking the time to talk with me this morning. And one other non-record related question is how I'm just curious of how different artists are seeing it and what they're experiencing right now. Is how is the post-pandemic music world for you now? I mean, I know it clobbered musicians everywhere. I mean, it was sad to see, and it was great to see certain artists and bands take care of their road crews and other musicians. Like, Foreigner was raising money for their crews during the whole shutdown. Bonamassa was raising money for different musicians, and it was great to see the community bond together. But
Yeah.
I'm curious what does it look like to you now that things have lifted, and is there a new normal or is it back to the old normal for you?
Um, well, let's see. So it was exactly, let's see, probably 2 years of nothing, right? 2020. Uh, from I was out with Michael Monroe in Finland when I heard they were closing the U.S. border. Trump said it, so I actually believed him and jumped on a plane and got home, but it wasn't true. um, and so from April 2020 till about summer 2022. There was nothing.
Yeah.
I played one show in New York when in October 2021 when my album Bronx Cheer came out, and that's the only. I didn't tour on that album, unfortunately. That was the only gig I did for that album, Bronx Cheer. Was the record release event.
Hmm.
And I've like gotten in a groove of. I'm still trying to get back into the old headspace of like, booking gigs and because for 2 years it was like working from home and doing sessions from, I have my whole studio set up here,
Hmm.
do sessions for people, guitar, vocal, whatever, soundtracks, commercials, records, demos.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I worked and made money during the time when I couldn't tour. So I'm still doing that, and I'm kind of getting back into putting a new band together for myself, and gonna get out there soon. But I've been into this groove of doing stuff at home and hanging with my family, and driving them to school every day so they don't have to be exposed on the subway to all the germs and crazy people.
Yeah. I've
But
heard.
it started taking the subway again. But I am I'm currently putting a new band together and hoping to get out there and in the new year when my new record comes out.
Wow. Well, speaking of, this is quite a new single you put together in the video.
Yeah.
Tell me about it and the upcoming album. And I'd love to talk to you too closer when the album comes out. But maybe tease a little bit now, and then we can save some of the other stuff for the next time we talk. But this single, wow, I love it. I love the video. What's the story?
Thank you. Well, that is actually a song that I wrote back in 1984. Believe it or not. So it's like
Wow.
40 years old.
Remembered it.
But
That's
but
amazing.
yeah, and I still remembered it. I still have I found the demo tape with it on, so
Oh,
I
cool.
could refer to it. I remembered almost all of it. I just forgot the second verse, and you know, I've gotten a bit better over the last 40 years. So I was a little afraid. I was thinking, oh God, what is that second verse? I can't remember it. I hope it's not embarrassing. I wrote it when I was like early 20s. So I went back and listened, and I was actually very pleasantly surprised at that second verse. So yeah, so that was written. It's called "Girl with No Name," and it's about kind of walking down the street and seeing all these beautiful women walk by, and what are you gonna do? Excuse me, miss. It just doesn't work in a big city like New York. And so I was feeling that back today. I'm happily married and of
Mhm.
course not going through that, but
You just
um,
this, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, my fourth
That's your
binder.
story, and you're sticking to it.
Yeah,
So
exactly. No, but it's true. But you can. That's the great thing about songwriting. You can dip back into that well of your life's experiences anytime. I
Mhm.
still write songs about ex-girlfriends, and if the thought pops into my mind and I think, oh God, I never said anything about that. No, I haven't released one lately, I don't think. But this, anyways, yeah. So that's the new song. It's yeah, and the video was done by the same guy who did my 4th of July video
Hmm.
in England, 12-inch media. Great
Mhm.
video, great, and Peter Perenni, the director who did the actual filming of me and the girl in the video, who's my wife.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's my wife. Um, and yeah, so that's video and single number 2 from my upcoming record on Wicked Cool Records. That's the Little Stevens label.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
the first single was 4th of July. That was co-written. And if you want to know more about the album, half of this album was co-written by Andy Partridge of XTC, which is
Very nice.
he's one of my all-time favorite songwriters. He's in my top 10. So like, writing with one of your songwriting heroes, there's nothing like it. I mean, it would be like writing with McCartney or Townsend or
Yeah.
Ray Davies or Paul Westerberg or Tom Waits. For
Mhm.
me, those guys are, and Andy Partridge is right there with them. So I feel very fortunate about that. and he co-wrote the first single with me, 4th of July,
Mhm.
which also has a video. Everything's on my YouTube channel, Steve Conte NYC, I believe is the YouTube channel name. But if y'all go to YouTube and look up my name, I'm sure you can
Yep. And
find
I'll
it.
put a link to it on the website too.
Yes, and please subscribe.
Yes, yes, that goes for both of us. We need those subscriptions. So doesn't cost anything either. Why don't people subscribe? You know?
Yeah, well, and now they've put ads on YouTube where every single video has an ad. It used to just be like the ones that were monetized had an ad in front of it. But now, I go to watch my own video. I first thought, hey, somebody making money on this? Yes, not me.
Yeah, I know that. I feel your pain there. So well, I want to go back on this song though, because it's interesting. I didn't have this written down, but my memory popped up. And I'd be curious to get your perspective on this. You talked about a song written in 1984 that was still in your mind and you've just recorded it. And it reminded me of when my first concert I ever went to was in 1973, Easter Sunday. It was Elvis Presley.
Wow.
And he did a song. In fact, my first celebrity interview, air quotes, was with Colonel Tom Parker because I got there 2 hours early and I bumped into him there. And I asked him 3 questions. The last one was, "Can I go backstage and meet Elvis?" And he said no and turned around and walked off. But hey, it was burned into my mind. But Elvis did a song that Sunday called "I'm Leaving." And I only heard it that one time. He said it was on a new album, and I looked everywhere, obviously way before the internet, so I couldn't search it. I had to just go to record stores and any place that sold records and try to find that album because I loved the song. I never did find it.
You
Then
sure it's called I'm Leaving?
it's called "I'm Late," but wait, I did eventually find it, and here's how I found it. I found it. I bought it in a box set back when Columbia still had those deals, and I got this box set for next to nothing in the early 2000s. And no, in the 90s, I take that back. So 20 some odd years later, I get the box set because that song was on there. I got that box set for one song and it was it, 5 or 6 CDs. The thing gets in the mail. I pop it into the CD player and went right to that song. And it was exactly how I remembered it in
Wow.
1973. So I said all that to say this, to set it up with your song and with "I'm Leaving." What is it about music that you can hear it one time or you hear it back, 40 years ago, like your song, and it comes back and it's exactly how you remember it? What is it about music? And what is it you guys do? Is there some kind of hex you put on it or something or what? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's, catchiness.
Mhm.
I mean, I never heard the Elvis song. I'm curious to hear it now because it must be something pretty catchy if you remembered it all those years. I mean,
It's a lot like some of his other love songs, but it was a cool song. I just loved it, and it was in that concert. So you're
well,
going to listen to it and probably go, "What the heck, Randy? It's no big deal." But I thought it was. So
well, for a song like "Girl with No Name," um, there was a few things at play for me to remember that song. First of all, I was like I said, Andy Partridge co-wrote. It's basically all of side one of my new album. It's going to be on vinyl. So side A is all Conte Partridge songs, and side B is all Conte songs, right? So I knew that I had to, because Andy's so great, and knew I had to pick the right songs for the side B of the record, right?
Mhm.
Um, and "Girl with No Name" is one of them. So I was thinking of songs that were coming from the same place as the songs I had written with Andy, which was my love of the Beatles and 60s psychedelia and XTC.
Mhm.
And I remember when I wrote that song, I was really listening. I don't know what XTC album I was listening to back then. Probably English Settlement, or that would have been '82. So, uh, Yeah, it was probably English Settlement. Um, so yeah, that song was based on. So I started like looking for songs that went along with the Partridge songs, and that song just popped into my mind, and I always knew it was a good one, and I found the tape, and sure enough, it was like I remembered it.
Very
But I
cool.
made a much better recording of it now than I did in 1984 with my little drum machine and probably a Schultz Rockman. Remember those? The
Yeah,
Rockman?
yeah.
Thing? Yeah.
So you worked on a ton of records, not only your own, but with the Dolls, with Monroe, but you do all sorts of session work. You've worked on all sorts of soundtracks and commercials and all that kind of stuff. What was different about putting this record together, the forthcoming album, than it was on anything else? And were there any surprises in putting this record together?
Well, yeah, I think each record is an opportunity to stretch and grow a little bit, So, like the past bunch of records, well, let's see. Since I started making independent records, because my first band, Company of Wolves, we were on Mercury Records in
Right.
1990. That was like, coming out of the sort of hair band era. We were not one, but of course they tried to lump us in because we had hair. But we were into like blues rock. We were into the
Green.
Stones and Zeppelin and AC/DC and also some Beatley stuff. Cheap Trick but then when we started doing independent records, my brother and I, we had our band Crown Jewels, and we did, we kind of continued from there with our like Humble Pie, Faces, sort of Zap influences, and then I just started. I was going out with this girl who was a poet, and I started getting more into lyric writing and writing more acoustic, and yeah, my songwriting changed and got more focused on lyrics and melody and not so much big riffs and stuff. And I'm already losing my train of thought from what your original question was.
What
But
was different and any surprises of
okay,
this album to the others?
okay, so the there's like an arc, and it goes from like hard rock and then kind of blues rock and then like back to songwriting, and then the last bunch of albums that I've done have been like somewhere in the middle, right? There's like tough rock and roll and nice ballads and beautiful melodies, right?
Mhm.
But each one was sort of an opportunity to stretch. Like right after the Dolls, I did Steve Conte and the Crazy Truth, which is my garage band record. Like we
Mhm.
recorded it all pretty much live in my studio, and it's really trashy New York sounding. And then, with this album with Andy, I knew that I hadn't yet done an album with. I always say the Beatles are my favorite band, and they're the reason I got into music, and yet I hadn't really done a full record where I embrace that. So this was my chance to kind of show that side. So I played a lot of keyboards and strings and string arrangements, fake strings,
Mhm.
keyboard, Mellotron and stuff.
Mhm.
And I used that uh, as my springboard, like the Andy songs and that kind of production and pulling those kind of songs of my own in, and that that was I don't know if it's not a surprise to me. It may be a surprise to people that like, man, I thought this guy was a New York Dolls punk guy. Well, I'm not just that. I mean, I had some of that in me, but this record is like where I come from, and I got a chance to work with some people I didn't work with before, so that was a surprise. Prairie Prince, the drummer,
Mhm.
who played on XTC Skylarking album, is the main drummer on this record. He plays on 7 of the 10 tracks. He plays on all of the Partridge songs and 2 of my own. And then Tommy Price from Joan Jett, Billy Idol, and Mink DeVille, he plays on 2, and Brian Delaney from the Dolls plays on 1.
Wow.
And so I got a chance to work with those guys, and Rob Schwimmer, amazing keyboard player who played with Simon and Garfunkel, and
Right.
he's like a real avant-garde, and he plays theremin and all that weird stuff. So I got all kinds of wacky keyboards that I couldn't play that he did, and Andrew Hollander, who's my co-producer, he also played some keys on it. So, but pretty much it's all me. Oh, there's one song with probably 50 guest vocalists on it. Ian Hunter, Glenn Matlock,
Whoa.
Marshall Crenshaw, uh, so many, people were kind enough to send me, but it was really a big dumb chorus. I said, you guys want to sing on this? And, it's like 3 notes, the big football chant kind of thing. And they all sent me their tracks. And so that was cool. I don't think I can say the name of the album yet because Wicked Cool kind of wants me to
Understood.
until they're ready to.
Don't want to tick off Stevie. So
yeah, exactly. but it's all done. The artwork is done, the cover's done, and I can't wait to share it with everybody. So stay tuned to my website and everywhere.
Well, we want you to come here to do that too when you can talk more about it. Any fan takeaways you hope happen when they hear, let's just say, this song? Is there something you hope that when a fan hears it, they latch on to as you put that song together and release it?
You mean my new single, Girl with No Name?
Yeah.
Well, melody, I hope they're singing the melody. And a lot of people have written to me and said, man, I heard it once and it's been stuck in my head all day, damn you. Like, that's the point.
Earworm.
That is the point.
Yeah.
And I hope it happens to everyone that hears it. That, and I hope people can relate to it, even if you're old and married like me. You can remember a time when you were trying to meet the one, or at least the one for right now.
Yeah.
Where you're sort of feel like helpless, like, oh my God, it's overwhelming. Here I am on this street full of beautiful women, and what am I gonna do? How am I gonna talk to these people? Everyone's just walking by, That was in my mind while I was writing the song,
See.
Which you kind of see in the video too.
Right.
So watch the video.
Absolutely. And that's what we'll post on the page too when we post this interview.
I was speaking to your listeners, not to you necessarily.
Well, I'm just telling you what I'm going to do to help make that happen.
Awesome. Thank you.
I want to shift a question to a question involving the dolls, and I'm hoping you might have something to share on this. Are there any funny or interesting stories involving you, the band, the New York Dolls, and either any of their songs or anything involving the fans, during that era when you were with them?
Things involving the fans,
or something when you were playing one of the known songs there of the band.
I mean, I remember some crazy things. There was a boat we played on in England, in Bristol, called the Tekla, where a lot of people play gigs, and it's like a big steel hull, ship, and you play, down on the bottom floor, and hot as hell. It was like being inside of a boiler, because it's all steel, and I don't know if they don't have proper ventilation or what, but it was so hot. I remember just dripping in sweat, and we're playing this gig, and people are rushing to the stage because we're all on the same level. We're on the floor, and the people are on the floor right in front of us. Like a stage with a gates, security, which we would have sometimes. And I remember people like rushing to the stage, trying to like grab our set lists, and who knows, maybe they're trying to grab our pedals and our whatever. But our guitar tech was just there like a linebacker, like pushing people off of the stage, just running from one side of the stage to the other, pushing people off. And I remember at one point during a different gig, he actually threw someone off the stage. but which we were a little nervous about. But that was pretty memorable. So those were some crazy fans in Bristol, England, and in Spain too. We did this 20th anniversary or 25th anniversary of a club there called Sidecar in Barcelona, and I think the club holds like 250 people, and it was mobbed. I mean, you couldn't even move, and I remember people had to walk. The bathroom was behind the stage.
Hmm.
But people had to walk across the stage to go to the bathroom. So we're playing, and here comes like, a couple of girls going back to the bathroom, and a couple of dudes come out, and it was a bizarre kind of thing. So those are some, fan memories. But I mean, playing those songs was such a trip, because I was never a Dolls fan before I joined the band. This is well known. I've said this before, and it's not a diss. Just like it didn't really come across, my desk, so to speak. I mean, I had when I was signed to Mercury Records with the Company of Wolves, the Dolls were on Mercury, and actually so was Michael Monroe. All three of us were on that label. So when I went up to Mercury Records to like meet the staff and everything, they said, "Here's our supply closet. Feel free to go and take whatever you want." So I went through all the CDs, right? And it's like, ooh, they owned the Chess, all the Chess records. So I got all these box sets, like the
Yeah.
Bo Diddley box set, the Chuck Berry box set, the like Willie Dixon box set, right?
My goodness.
And we were going through individual CDs. Oh, the New York Dolls, Too Much Too Soon. I grabbed it. I brought it home, gave it a spin or two. And I knew Personality Crisis from when I was a kid a bit, but I always wanted to be like a great guitar player, like a Hendrix and Beck and Page, and so Johnny Thunders wasn't like someone I looked up to as a player, because he was primal and basic and great for what he did, but it's kind of how I played when I was 16. The standard blues box, the pentatonic scale. That's pretty much, I think he had about 5 or 6 different licks, seriously. But he played the hell out of them, and so when I played those songs, it was like, I had to get the essence of Thunders and leave all the stuff that I knew, behind, and it was challenging and fun and great to learn the songs and Thunder solos and the parts, and I really realized how genius those songs are. They're little gems, each one, as simple as they are. Johansson's lyrics are genius. Songs like Vietnamese Baby and Frankenstein, and I mean, all of them. So it was a blast playing all of them. I can't tell you. I think I really liked playing Private World a lot. That was one of my favorites to play live.
You-
That was Arthur Kane co-write with David,
Do
because it
you
had
feel like
a different kind of beat.
yeah.
They called it a mambo. I don't think it was really a mambo, but it was like da 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 da, and it was like cowbell, but it was always fun because we would jam out on that live at the end. Me and David would go into some blues songs. It would be like we'd bring the band down and do like some Mitch Ryder or Janis Joplin or
Yeah.
something in the middle there.
Do you feel like you left your mark on any one of their songs that when people hear a New York Dolls song, they think of how you put your imprint on it after they made it?
I wouldn't know. That's hard to say. And because the only way they would know it, well, we did do 2 live albums. The first live album was the DVD from Royal Festival Hall, CD and DVD with Arthur Kane, when Arthur was still alive. That was the Morrissey Meltdown Festival. I was still learning the songs. In fact, I just posted Frankenstein for Halloween, and I wrote in my post on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere that I was still learning the stuff. Like we had 2 rehearsals.
Wow.
Frankenstein is like a 6-minute epic with all these sections that, it's 6 times the first time, then 7 times the second time, then 3 times. It's like it's a lot to remember. So I had like 3 pages of cheat sheets stretched out on the floor only for that song. Every other song I remember. So I was still learning them on that first live album, but then we did live from the Fillmore in 2008, and I knew the songs a little bit better. So maybe somebody might pick something up from that album. But it was also funny because Sylvain and I were on opposite sides of the stage, and we couldn't hear each other a lot of the time. So I only heard what Sylvain was playing, and he only heard what I was playing when that album came out. We're like, I would listen in the speakers. They pan his guitar one way and my guitar the other way, right? And I was like, oh man, we're both playing the same part. Nobody's playing big chords underneath, like song Babylon. There's this little riff that goes like, and we're both playing that. Normally one guy would be going, but we're both playing the lick. So, I didn't know that until I heard the record. So yeah, I don't know if there's, my solos were, of course, different from Thunder's, but those are solos. I don't know that anybody's going to walk away singing them. They're rock solos,
Right.
I did throw a few little like melodies and melodic things in, but I was always kind of improvising. I never really, stuck to a formula. It's what I like to do. Especially with the Dolls, because it was good to go by the seat of your pants, because to me that was my version of punk rock, was just like trying stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but
But it was all fun.
chaos was good, because I wasn't as messed up, shall we say, as Johnny was a lot of times. So if I could create some chaos and try some shit that I had no idea how it was going to come out, it was a good thing.
Yep. Yep. So how do you want to be remembered, and what do you hope your legacy is when this is all said and done?
When I'm dead and gone,
Uh,
melodies.
yeah.
Melodies and chords, that's and lyrics, and guitar licks, but there's a million great guitar players in the world, and probably half of them are way better than me. So just to be a great guitar player, like I know lots of great guitar players, they're friends of mine that have gigs with like big bands, huge bands, and they're guitar heads. That's what they do. They don't sing, they don't write lyrics, they don't write songs, maybe they write riffs, I don't know. But they are guitar players, and every time I hear one of them, and I go, yeah, we're both guitar players from New York, but you're a real guitar player. I'm just a singer-songwriter guitar player, even though I'm a good guitar player, those guys are like guitar heads. And I foolishly, my whole life, tried to do all 3 things well. I tried to be a good singer, be a good guitar player, and be a good songwriter. Most people don't try that daunting, trifecta, yeah, to me, I always wanted to sing like Rod Stewart or Paul Rodgers, play like Jeff Beck or Jimi Hendrix, and write like Lennon and McCartney.
There you go. Boy.
Boy, did I set the bar high for myself.
Just a tad.
Like an idiot. But, hopefully I get, close in all of them, but, maybe not.
Yeah. Well, my friend, you've contributed a lot to that whole thing of where we just, as fans, speaking as a fan and a non-musician, you've contributed a lot of enjoyment to our listening lives here. And I appreciate that more than you'll ever know. And look forward to hearing a lot more, especially with this new album coming up. So let's make sure we link up then next year when it comes out, and we'll have more of this conversation and maybe some more stories. Okay.
Thanks, Randy. Love to. Yeah, it'll be out in April of 2024.
All right, man. We'll talk just before then.
You got it.
All right. Take care. Stay safe.
Thanks. You
Bye-bye.
too, and everybody out there, go to my website, steveconte.com, CONTE, and
We'll make it happen.
find all my stuff, YouTube and videos and CDs, and I sell. Oh, by the way, I sell. Do I have one handy? Oh yeah, look. I have vinyl albums as well, but I have CDs and vinyl that I sign, and this is 4th of July and Recovery Doll from my last album. So, you know, I have stuff that I sign and send out right from here in my little humble abode.
Very good. Man, I know lots of people want that kind of stuff. I know I collect, you can't see it because I got this virtual background here, but I've got my office ceiling line is lined up with autographed albums and such. So I will never sell them, never. So they'll have to wait until I'm dead before they can sell them. So
pry them from your cold, dead hands.
That's right, dadgummit. So, all right, Steve, thanks a million. Stay safe and well, and we'll talk to you next year.
Yes.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.